Here, the Water Minister has told ITV News that the government is planning more legislation to force our polluting water companies to clean up their act. It came as a new law was passed giving the regulator greater powers to impose fines and to stop water executives taking huge bonuses. But campaigners have expressed doubts that it'll actually make any difference, says Sam Holder.
You don't really want to know what this is, but it is in our water. These are the kind of disgusting sewage releases the government believes it will stop with its new act. But campaigners say, just like the water, the act is full of dross. Laura's part of a wild swimming club in the upmarket town of Henley-on-Thames.
I have seen stoma bags, I've seen human waste, I've seen wet wipes, sanitary products, condoms, everything you can think of.
Little surprise she's been ill 5 times. While water companies have been convicted more than 1,000 times of criminal offences, until now there has been very little individual responsibility. In fact, only 3 people have ever faced criminal prosecution. The government describes the new Water Act as a crackdown on bosses, promising tougher penalties, including severe fines and even jail for polluters who don't comply. Bonuses will be banned if environmental targets aren't met, while every sewage outlet will be monitored with real-time data for emergency overflows in order to protect the public. But many of the details, like the size of the fines, are still murky.
What we'll probably aim for is a second round of bills later in the year where serious legislation is passed that will really sort out this problem at source.
So this one's meaningless, really?
This bill is a political statement from the government to say we're listening, but it's not going to make any difference at all.
This afternoon, the Water Minister confirmed the government is planning more legislation.
This is not the extent of our ambition. We have got so much more to plan to do. We've also undertaken the Water Commission, which is the biggest review of the entire water sector since privatisation. Never since privatisation has anybody really looked in detail at how our water system works, and that's exactly what we're doing.
The intent from this government is clear, but for now it seems the specifics being kicked downstream. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Revolting, and apologies if you were eating your tea.
Sewage spills, leaks and wanting to charge us more in the process. Thames Water's angered many of its customers over the past few years. But today, a new law's come into force which could see tougher penalties coming the company's way. It's called the Water Special Measures Bill, and it grants the regulators, Ofwat, new powers to impose harsher fines and strip bonuses from water company bosses. But with Thames Water getting a £3 billion rescue loan to avoid collapse, and with the company still pushing to hike bills, critics argue the new measures will do little to stop ongoing pollution incidents. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Overnight rain in East London and the storm drains are full to bursting. Just outside Ilford, the filthy, smelly water pours into the River Roding. Each discharge lasts about 5 minutes. Afterwards, Paul, a lawyer who campaigns for cleaner rivers, examines the evidence.
This shouldn't really have anything on it because it should just be rainwater, maybe a bit of litter from the streets, but what we see here is all of this what's called rags, so toilet paper, wet wipes, stuff that can only really come from sewage.
In Parliament today, new laws came into force to try to clean up rivers like the Roding.
His Majesty the King has signified his royal assent to the following acts: Arbitration Act, Water Special Measures Act.
The Water Special Measures Act will allow the Environment Agency to bring criminal charges. Ofwat will be able to ban executive bonuses. There'll be automatic fines for some offences and independent monitoring of every sewage overflow to record discharges. The government says the new legislation amounts to a crackdown on water company bosses to stop them polluting rivers, lakes and seas. But environmentalists and political opponents say it doesn't go far enough.
What we really want to see is, a new regulator. Ofwat are not doing what they need to do. We need to see a new regulator that can properly hold Thames Water to account for sewage dumping and for the bills going up and for all of the other problems that my constituents are facing with their water company.
But ministers believe the new measures will force water company bosses to change their ways.
Since 2020, they've paid themselves £41 million in bonuses, which is outrageous when you think about how much pollution we've seen in our rivers, lakes and seas. And if they fail to comply with our new rules, then they can face up to 2 years in jail.
Back on the Roding, Paul has spent the morning collecting litter from the riverbank.
I live on a boat on the river, and I love it with all my heart, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see it being polluted and that the authorities are not doing anything to really stop it.
Thames Water said it was committed to seeing waterways thrive and has a 5-year plan to upgrade the oldest sewage system in the country. Simon Harris, ITV News, Ilford.